My name is Donagh. I'm here with Aidan Maloney, and we're actually going to share the board. But the objective of what we're trying to do is really to prove to you that this is the most important board of the day, animal breeding. So if we look at animal breeding in any species, pigs, poultry, dairy, beef, around half the gains we see in performance are actually due to genetics. People are talking a lot these days about feed efficiency. If we look at poultry, 85% of the gains in feed efficiency over the past few decades has actually been due to genetics or breeding. So you might look at that and say, geez, this is brilliant. But I could look at it another way and say this could be disastrous. So breeding is what we say cumulative and permanent. It stays within the population for a number of generations. It's not like having bad silage. If you have bad silage this year, you'll suffer this year, but sure, next year is another year and you might have good silage and everything will be fine. If you take your eye off the ball from a breeding perspective and use a bad bull this year, you keep his replacements, that could have disastrous consequences for 20 years. So you can't just turn off the tap when it comes to breeding, right? Most of you, I'm sure, are well familiar that there's two indexes in Ireland for beef. There's the terminal index and the replacement index, and the objectives of them are different. So the terminal index, which as the name suggests, is to produce animals who are most profitable for slaughter, right? And profit there is the key, right? So what drives profit? Well, revenue drives profit. Carcass, and carcass makes up around 66% of the index. That's carcass weight, conformation, and fat. Right? But I've never seen anybody ever sell a dead calf to a factory, right? So you have to get a calf out. So calving is hugely important, right? So we want ease of calving. The calf has to live, must be short gestation, but also can't destroy the cow. A lot of lads talking about getting this calf out of this cow, and it's brilliant, and they've made loads of money, but the cow didn't calf for another 2 or 3 years, right? So what use is that to us, right? And people are talking a lot about efficiency and feed efficiency, and yes, we do have some element of feed efficiency inside in our national breeding indexes. If you want to drive efficiency in the beef sector, you're going to drive it through the maternal side, through the female side, through the efficiency or the reproductive efficiency. Cows in Ireland have on average 0.81 calves per cow per year. That means if we go into the suckler herd, the national suckler herd, around 20% of them haven't had a calf yet, right, in the past 12 months. That's a serious inefficiency in the system, right? So that's what leads on to the replacement index, where one of the big drivers there is fertility, getting the cows to have more calves, getting them to have them more frequently, and calving them to grass. Milk yield, of course, is also important. We want to have a good, strong weaning, right? And the milk yield of the cows is a big driver of this. Calving again is back down to easy calving, get the cow short gestation, get her to have easy calving, get her to come back cycling so she can go and calf. Feed efficiency and carcass are still important, right? So it's not as if, and we'll see this in a second, what you might hear is that these animals have poor quality carcasses. That's not necessarily true at all, right? The quality of the carcasses is just as good, but they're more efficient and you're actually going to end up getting more calves. So you can sell more. So it's not about revenue, it's actually about profit, right? So here's an example of the 24,000 herds, the beef genomics scheme when it started. Just looking at their performance, we broke them into 5 index, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 5 indexes, 5-star indexes is that they're the top 20%, right? So we would expect these animals, the cows, to outperform their 1 index contemporaries, especially for the traits associated with female characteristics, so reproduction, milking, etc., right? Don't get hung up too much on the figures, and there actually is another board later on in one of the villages where it's based on Aidan's 46 herds, where we did a lot more intensive measurements like weighing the cows, etc., and weighing the calves. But if we look at it, look at some of the metrics, number of calvings. So the 5-star animals, they produce almost 1 calf more, right? If we see, what are we hearing in the news the whole time? It's all about greenhouse gas emissions and the environment and beef and dairy production. If we can get 1 more calf per cow per year, that's a huge increase in efficiency, right? They're calving at a younger age. Also, their fertility is better, so they're cycling earlier, they're getting pregnant and establishing pregnancy a lot earlier. If you look at this statistic, what percentage of them are alive after 7 years? 72% of the high index animals were alive, but only half the 1 index animals. So we'd lost half our cows by 7 years of age. A serious inefficiency. Growth rate, despite what you would have heard, the growth rate of these animals was significantly higher than those of their lower index. Carcass weight, more or less the same, slightly heavier, but more or less the same. If I was to bet my house on a trait, I think this is going to become the next big trait, age at slaughter, right? From an efficiency perspective, if we look at these 5 index animals, these are the animals from the 5 index cows, they are slaughtered 40 days younger for the same carcass weight. So you're feeding them for 40 days less, you have them in the shed or you're in the grass or the labour associated for 40 days less, and they're burping greenhouse gases for 40 days less. There's a huge win-win here. The second part of the board, which I want to talk about before I hand over to Aidan, is going through how do we select bulls. And I'm going to use my own herds as an example. This is from the ICBF website, but if you pick up a bull catalogue or a AI sales catalogue, it's the same information, just packaged in a different way, okay? So, first thing I will do is, well, what do I want the bull to do for me? Do I want him to produce quality weanlings that I can sell for slaughter, or do I want him to produce replacement females, right? If it's the first one, I'm looking at the terminal index. Remember, that's all about producing animals for slaughter. If it's the replacement index, then, if I want to produce females that I can keep in the herd, then it's the replacement index. Every bull has a star rating with inbreed and a star rating at crossbreed. So this bull has 5 stars. So it's just like your 5-star hotel, this bull is in the top 20% for replacement index. He's a little bit unique in that he's also in the top 50% for terminal. So he's good for terminal and for replacement within the Angus breed. If we look at crossbreed, he's still 5 index for 5-star index for the replacement, but he's a 3, so he's just average for terminal. That's kind of not surprising. He's an Angus bull. So if the 5-star bulls is probably, and 4-star bulls are probably predominantly your continental bulls for terminal characteristics. So I've decided what I want the bull to do. I've selected it. I just rip out the page from the Farmer's Journal. These are all high index bulls. Now I want to select within that. The first criteria, I'm a part-time farmer obviously, is calving difficulty. I want it to be easy calving. Look at this bull, 1.9%. What that means is that 1.9% of his calvings will result in the jack or a vet, right? So in other words, if he had 100 calves, I'll need to call the vet or I need to get out the jack for 2 of them on average, right? So very easy calving. If you're picking a bull for heifers, don't use a bull greater than 4%. 4% is the max for heifers, right? The next criteria is reliability, and you can see that every trait has a reliability associated with it. So reliability varies from around 0%, where you know nothing about the bull, to 99%, where he's well proven. This bull here is 99%. He must have thousands of progeny that we have calving difficulty proofs for. But he would have been born with around 32% reliability. All we knew about him was his pedigree, right? And we all know of the individual bull who comes from a great family line, they're all easy calving. You happen to be the guy that bought him, and 20% of the calves are cesareans, right? That does happen. There's nothing wrong with the data. That is reality. Again, a lot of us have brothers and sisters. We all don't look the same. Hopefully most of us have the same parents, but we look different because we each get a half DNA from our father and a half a DNA from our mother, but our sister or our brother could actually get, say, a different half. Right? So you could actually, don't try this at home kids, but you could actually be completely related to your brother or sister. Right? So you can have a calf from a cow dam mate or a dam bull mating as a 5-star, and next year exactly the same mating can give you a 1-star. That's totally possible because you get a different complement of genes. So if the bull is high reliability, that means we're more confident on these proof. The next thing then, if I'm looking for a replacement, is daughter milk. So this bull has a value of 9.8 kilos. That means that the progeny from this bull's daughters will weigh almost 10 kilos heavier at weaning, and that's driven by milk yield. Also, he's negative on calving interval, so negative is good. Remember, we want to reduce the calving interval. We want a shorter calving interval. So this bull will reduce your calving interval by around 4.5 days. Okay, so I'll just pass over to Aidan then to follow on the rest of the board. Aidan's going to step to the side then. We'll take questions. Aidan will step to the side to take any individual questions afterwards.
Okay, thanks very much, Donagh. Well, look, as Donagh ran through the replacement index, the terminal index, and how it can be used to select for individual traits, how important reliability is, and how we could potentially maximise genetic gain in the beef herd, and that's all fine and well. But the other area, I suppose, is we have to get the performance, and our management has to be up then to maximise the potential of that genetics if we can get it into the herd. And certainly there is inefficiencies there. We can see our current calving interval of 400 days. Only 24% of our heifers are calving between 22 and 26 months of age, which becomes an issue if we're trying to reduce greenhouse gases and improve efficiency. And efficiency is going to come in terms of getting animals breeding at younger ages and in the herd and more productive, as well as getting them slaughtered at younger ages and good weight for age at that. Throughout today, you'll see quite a bit of emphasis. We've got a breeding village down there. Michael Diskin talks quite a bit about using AI and what's important there, and we've also got a very good live demonstration with the Farmer's Journal and ICBF on how to achieve 2-year-old calving, and we have the animals in front of you to show what the maiden heifers, what the first calvers, what the mature cows look like overall, and I'll run through that. But from a management point of view, with better planning, I think we need to correct some of the things. And 2 areas that we focus on is it possible, and ask the question, should we try and use a bit more AI? I fully admit that it's not suitable for anybody, for everybody, but certainly we've got the Dairy Patrick herd here, we've got the maternal herd, and we've got the Newford herd. In the last 2 years, they've all moved to 100% AI. But we have a good infrastructure for getting cows in and out, and we will look at improving heat detection and that over time. So that's hugely important that we get those. But why are we considering, or why should we consider more? Some of the statistics that's out there amongst suckler herds is quite frightening. The average number of calves produced per suckler herd last year for the entire country was 17. So herd size is small. That ranged from 13 calves in western counties like Donegal and Leitrim to a high of 28 calves in herds down in the likes of County Waterford. And that's a trend that's been there for a number of years. The worry that I would have is that has economic implications, particularly when you consider that 75% of the animals are bred to stock bulls. Currently, only 24% of calves born are AI bred, so the rest are coming from stock bulls. If the index and bulls become correlated with their replacement value, their terminal index, well then, some of these smaller herds are going to find it more difficult to try and keep getting top genetics on. And that's going to become an issue over time. If you look at the average stock bull in Ireland, again, ICBF produced figures 2 or 3 years ago, produces 80 calves over a 4-year lifetime. So he produces 20 calves per year over 4 years. Now, if you look at a salvage value, if you look at the maintenance cost for that animal, and that can vary, that a bull coming in at €2,000 producing 20 calves costs about €32.50 to put a calf out of the ground from him. A bull costing €4,000, it costs $57.50 to put a calf on the ground if he's your average typical bull out there. Other bulls will put 200 calves on the ground, which dilutes the cost per calf, but that's what the average figures are telling us. And that, given the herd size, there's not too many with small herd size that can afford to pay €4,000 for a high indexed top genetic bull if they decide to go that. So we're asking ourselves a question over the longer term, will we be able to, the smaller herds in particular, maximise the gain if they haven't got the buying power out there to buy the better stock bulls. In AI, we've got a large selection of high index, high reliability sires, and that's across all the breeds. And my experience in the last 20 odd years looking at suckler herds, people tend to migrate towards one breed or another, for they like them for whatever trait it is, and that's fine. But you've got a better selection overall here, and we've got new heat detection aids. We use tail paint and teaser bulls to pick up these cows, but you've colours you can put on the bulls, you've colours you can put on the cows. A lot of electronic devices now are making heat detection more attainable for lads. But look, top 30 AI bulls and replacement index, they're currently €158 replacement index, 73% reliability, calving difficulty 4.5%, price per straw 16.26. If I was to make that average bull with the average cow in the suckler herd last year, our replacement females should have an average index of €118. In reality, the average replacement index of heifers last year was €82. So we're missing out in terms of potential gain. And it's just a question, people need to ask themselves, should they consider or can they get more AI in? The other thing is, calving at 24 months, this is primarily down to management, and that we need to sort of get good performance. Pick heifers off cows that are, at weaning age have done about 1.1 kilos a day. So typically 270, 300 kilos at weaning time. This period here, between the first winter and bulling, critically important that we get the performance in that. Often we don't get the 0.6 of a kilo a day over the winter. Instead of 60 or 80 kilos of weight gain over the winter time, heifers will maybe do 30, 40 kilos. So they're falling behind. And then they need to get 6 or 8 weeks of grass, which was difficult this spring, in order to get them up to that typical bulling weight of, say, about 420 odd kilos for something that's going to grow into a mature cow of 700 kilos. If we do 0.8 of a kilo a day from now to housing, those animals will be getting into the shade around 560, 570 kilos. So they're nearly there in terms of their mature weight. 80% of their mature weight is what age we want to calve down. The other point is that sire selection cannot go hard on calving difficulty and heifers that we expect to calve at 2. So we need to be using easier calving sires. So therefore we need that bull that Donagh talked about that has high reliability, that has plenty of calves on the ground, and we know for a fact is easy calf. Picking a young bull with a low calving figure and 50% reliability, you could get anything, and you could end up with lots of calving difficulty. So just bear it in mind. So look, we need to set the targets. We need to know what the targets are. What should they be at weaning? What should they be going into or coming out of the shade? What should they be at bulling? And what bull are we going to use on them? And as I said, we have a very good display down the yard where you can see them right through. Farmers tell me we don't want to calve them at 2 because they're going to be too small calving down. You'll stunt their growth and they'll not calve as 3-year-olds again. The statistics are proving anything different. We have cows down there that are calved at 2 years of age and they're 730, 740 kilos. So that doesn't stunt their growth and that. But look, you'll see it in more detail on the stand down below. If there's any questions, I'll take some of the questions here, and Donagh, I'll let you fire away again.